Hadn't expected that.
Let me change it. Yeah, it's still just, it's going to be really difficult.
Can you just skip the master and go?
I was just mad.
I gotta
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming, and I hope you've had a great conference so far. So just first off, just a reminder that you are all enrolled in an Island 3 conference course. This is where you can find all the material. All of our streams will be on there too, if you want to go back and watch the ones that you couldn't make. Okay, so here we have wonderful Dr. Bjork. She's originally from Idaho. We live in Salt Lake now, correct? Awesome. She teaches English 107. Perfect. She's good. Okay, so this Picture Design 1 is hands-on humility, modeling Christ-like attributes in an online environment. I'll turn the time over to. Thank you so much.
Well, I would like to start out by warning you all, do not volunteer to teach a class on humility. Be very wary before you make that rash step. The last month has been ridiculously difficult for me personally. And at first, the first wave, I kind of staggered and went, whoa, what's going on? Okay, wow, we'll get through that. Second wave, oh! And by the third wave, I was going, okay, really? Where did this come from? And then I realized I was teaching this presentation. I said, wow, well played. Well played. So I have had a large dose of humility the last month, including a move and in-law difficulties and emergency brain surgery for one of my children, and a lot of personal discoveries that have been very difficult. So I don't feel entirely prepared to teach this class because of how much I have had to look at myself and realize that I might not know as much about humility as I thought I did. But I'm sure that you've had the same experience, at least to some degree in your lives, right? Our car was stolen this January. That was before all of this humility wave. And my husband, we were talking about it. He was really mad. He said, you know what? I'm going to pray for the thief. I said, babe, that's great. That was not my knee-jerk reaction. He said, I'm going to pray that he has humility and charity. I said, oh. We got our car back within 24 hours. So apparently he got a lot of humility and a lot of charity fast. But I hope that by modeling humility in our reactions, I want this class to be more of a self-evaluation. You know, looking at yourself and saying, you know, where can I do better? Where am I struggling? Where can I help my students the most? I think I would say that's most of our goals, right? Is to be able to help the student as we teach. So I hope that this presentation will help you in that. So I love this quote. How many of you saw was it on campus? The meeting with President Elder Kimby Clark, was that an on-campus all-employee meeting? He quoted, this was something he said, if I could get someone to read this, brave soul, anyone volunteer? Yeah, thank you, Annette.
Good memory.
Oh yeah, I've got this. It's nice that we are few but mighty because that helps me a lot as a teacher. I can remember, well, I hope to remember all of you. I still get James T. Kirk and Chris mixed up over here, but I'll remember.
Whatever level of spirituality we now enjoy in our lives, whatever degree of faith in Jesus Christ we have, whatever strength of commitment or consecration we have, whatever degree of obedience or hope or charity is ours, whatever level of professional skill or ability we have obtained, it will not be sufficient for the work that lies ahead. Brothers and sisters, you and I need to be much better than we are now in every aspect of our lives.
How do you feel reading that quote?
Scared.
Scared, right? I don't know about you, but when I heard that quote, I went, oh. My knees buckled a little bit because it will not be enough. Why is that concept so difficult? How many of us enjoy when someone says up and says, oh, hey, you're inadequate? How many of you are pumped and excited when someone does that? For those on the web, there are not a lot of hands in case you're wondering, but no one enjoys that. Why? Because are we inadequate?
Apparently.
Apparently, right? That's one of my favorite quotes from President Hinckley, both President Hinckley. He said, if you feel inadequate, it's because you are. All men sin and fall short of the glory of God. So why is it so hard, if it's the truth, why is it so hard to be told that?
I think sometimes for me personally, I feel like I'm trying so hard. I know I'm not perfect, but I'm trying so hard. But to know that my great mighty efforts to try so hard aren't going to really produce enough.
Yeah.
So then where do I go from there? You know?
Yeah, it feels fruitless. Thanks, Sharon. Sharon, right? Sharon, not Carol. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, with our efforts, we can feel like we're spinning our wheels. But the truth is, without Christ, we are nothing. We can do nothing. As I am a type A personality, I was a very determined child. My mom, when I was a toddler, let me go. This is my mom, by the way. Hi, Mom. We're both teachers here. And so we presented together yesterday, best mother-daughter date ever. But when I was a toddler, my mom let me go and just said, wander. And I just left. I didn't look back. I just went, and I was 2 years old. 18. Oh my. I was 18 months old, and I was out on my own living the dream. At least I thought she was following me the whole time, of course. But I think of myself as a very rugged individual. So to try and accept whatever I do, it will not be sufficient. It will not be enough. That's a really hard pill for me to swallow. Yeah, Chris.
Great. I think I can remember when he said this, but I think he was talking to us as being part of BYU-Idaho.
Yes.
And how we kind of think that we've made it. I mean, we're in this little bubble and that we're surrounded by good people and, we're doing the right thing. We're teaching online and we're trying to follow those steps of being a good teacher, building faith and sharing our testimony. And I think what his message was, and I think he talked about his own journey before that, and how he he knew he had to step up his game.
Yeah.
And so the message to me is that we was in this environment that don't think that we're all that because of where we're at.
Yeah. And that's a really good point. I would say that those are the two sides of coping with our inadequacy. We have the complacency here. All is well in Zion. We have a really great graduation rate and everyone likes our graduates. And I got a 6 on my performance review, right? Everything is well. Or the spinning our wheels. What more can I do? What more can I do? Am I doing enough? I don't know if I'm going to make it. Well, no, I can't open my midterm evaluations. Does it just stress you out to hear? That's the voice inside my head that I have to shove under a pillow during midterms, right? I think those are the two sides of us trying to cope with humility. But if we face it head on, It's actually a very peaceful process. Humility comes from, I'm an English major. I love words, I'm so nerdy, right? Humility, Latin comes from humilis, meaning low or lowly, and from humus, meaning the ground, right? Is that interesting to anyone if we think that Adam came from the dust of the earth, the literal ground, right? I listed 3 things where I have seen humility. All of these are conference talks. Actually, I realized that after I put them all down. Most of them are President Bjork, I guess I'm a fangirl a little bit. But Lord, is it I? Am I willing to acknowledge that it might be me? In our interactions with students, when they send us an email and say, my assignment is late, I'm sure that's the actual sound of the student sending you an email. Actually, we don't get that because we're online, but when they send us an email and they're complaining about something in the course, or I actually had a very painful experience at the beginning of the semester because of my son's brain surgery, which came right at the beginning. I wasn't online for a week. I was in the hospital and I didn't get any internet reception. I have a dumb phone, so I didn't get online. I could have made the time to go and do online work. Quite frankly, I could have, but I felt like my son was more important. So I wasn't online for a week, and I had a student email me back and basically send me a little bit of a sympathy email and say, are you there? Do you even care about our class? I'm not getting the help I'm needing, so I'm withdrawing from this class because it's obviously not worth my time. Right in the feels, right? That's harsh. So my options there, if I'm saying, Lord, is it I? Was I absent from the class? Was she getting the help she needed? No. And it hurts so much to acknowledge that, but if I tried to be humble, I tried. The Lord will have a humble offering, but I tried so hard to be humble and say, you know what? I am so sorry that this class hasn't worked out for you. I hope you take the skills you've learned thus far and carry them forward into your education. Contact me if you ever need anything. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Right? So lift where you stand kind of ties into that. Just wherever you're at. I'm a mom, and sometimes I don't like being a mom. Right? When I'm waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody is screaming because they've lost their bottle, or I'm trying to put them down for naps, and I'm wondering, I understand now why they don't give parents rubber mallets, because I'm pretty sure they would use them to help their children go down for naps. But it's hard. I don't want to be a mom. I want to be a professional. I want to live in an apartment with white carpet and drink virgin pina coladas on Fridays. Right? Some of you are laughing. I can tell that you're like, yeah, basically. Right? But I need to live where I stand. In the last 3 years, I have come to realize that there's nothing more important than being a mother. That's hard doctrine. I don't know if we really understand how humble we need to be, or being a father, respectively, right? There is nothing more important than that, role-wise. So even our roles as instructors, even our roles, we have to learn to prioritize, and that's been extremely hard for me. Also, hearkening, in Hebrew, to hearken means to listen with action. Because if you just listen, you just hear. But to hearken means to listen and then to do. And we'll get into that a little bit with giving and receiving feedback. Right? I have a list here of what I'm like when I am humble. I just took a little self-evaluation. I care, I reach out, I connect, I discuss, I listen. Right? What have you noticed in your own life? Like how do you feel? How do you react when you're humble? Yes.
I think I'd add gratitude to the list. I feel grateful.
I feel
it's a lot easier to be happy, because when I'm feeling humbled, and actually I'm thinking more of one of my students actually than of myself, because I had a student write a paper that I printed and I will always keep. She told the story of she suddenly came down with some kind of crazy something that she lost all inability to move. All. and she recovered from it, and it was this whole miraculous story. But she told this story of how when she could do nothing else but lay there, she was finally humbled to the point where she realized she had things to be thankful for. Even in that moment, she couldn't move a muscle in her body. She was like, I'm so thankful because her husband got in a wreck, and they were okay. And so, it was actually really cool. But sorry.
No, that's intense stuff.
Yeah. So gratitude.
Good, gratitude, nice. I completely agree. What else? Yes.
I repent. Like you said, you were sorry to your student. When I'm humble, I acknowledge when I've done something wrong, and I repent and I try and make it right.
Right.
As opposed to just trying to brush it off or justify myself or anything else. No, I acknowledge I did something wrong and I want to make it right.
Right. And I like that you say that you don't try and justify yourself, because how many times I do this with my husband, I probably shouldn't, but when he comes in and does something, I say, I'm sorry I got angry, but if you had it, right? Is that really repenting? No. It's a good attempt. It's a good start. Props for starters. But if we really want to get into being humble and to being changed, I would submit and it's a little bit more. Jackie, are you just on the rising, or do you have a comment?
I accept to realize that I can't always change my situation even when I really, really want to, and so I'll just stop trying to change it and accept how things are right now.
Accept, yeah. Yeah, nice. I think of that scripture with Paul where it is hard to kick against the pricks. It's hard to fight what we know is right, but we do it anyway. Because it's hard. We don't always want to be in the situations we're in. Right. I'm pretty sure that no one as a kid says, hey, I am going to develop an addiction and end up divorced, and it's going to be great. My kids are going to hate me for my entire life. It'll be wonderful. Right? But when you're in that situation, because it happens, sadly, we live in a fallen world. Families break apart. Things that we don't get the job we want. Things don't work out the way we thought they would. Right? So what do we do in that moment? We repent. We are grateful. We accept. So hard. So hard. I think, if I'm not mistaken, okay, this is a story of a woman who hit rock bottom. And as the movie is only 3 minutes long, but as we listen, I want you to listen for humility words and humility attitude. Why is she humble? What has made her humble? Like, what about her outlook? How can you tell that she is? Does that make sense? Am I speaking Chinese? Okay.
I work as an emergency room nurse, and we get patients in daily that are detoxing or suicidal or drunk or high or whatnot. And I have one experience with one girl that was so broken, and it actually angered me in the way that she was being treated, that I finally just snapped and said, I'm you, and I understand where you are, and there's hope for you. My opportunity to stand as a witness was what actually solidified my own belief that this was possible. I'd been married for a year when I found out that my husband had an addiction to pornography, almost simultaneously finding out I was pregnant with my first child. That was kind of the beginning of a steady decline in my own self-worth. We just kind of started this snowball effect in the marriage where when things got hard, that was his out, and that was his way of coping, which then just made me more difficult to live with because I was so hurt and so devastated. And we had this cycle that at times got really, really ugly. I was pulling away, and I actually started using drinking at that point to cope. It was like my way to rebel against him. Everything he had done to me, he was opposed to me, obviously, to drinking, alcohol, anything like that. Once we got divorced, there's rock bottoms for people, and I had been at this place where I felt like, again, I let myself get angry. I felt like I'd done everything right, and I ended up a divorced mother of 4. Instead of doing what I should have done and turning to the Lord at that point, that's where my decline started. One afternoon, I went to lunch with my sister. We just got talking, and she said, you've already been drinking when you got here. How often are you drinking? And I just said, every day. I'm drinking every day. And she's like, by yourself? You need to stop. And I told her I tried, and I actually can't. she sat down with my parents and said, there's a problem here and we need to do something. And it was the first anybody knew. There was pure love, and where do we go from here? Within about 4 hours, I was checked into details. I understand just as a teeny little bit of what it means to have Christ-like love. Christ descended below all things so that he could comprehend all things. I suddenly have a comprehension for people who just need a little bit of love. And the opportunities to share that at work have grown exponentially. I want those patients. I sign up for those patients, and the first thing I tell them is, I've been there. I tell them how many days I have. I tell them that I'm going to these meetings. I tell them that it can be done. So there was that day with that girl. It was so powerful, standing there, seeing her, this broken woman, feeling all of the broken parts that she felt, and knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that I had to say something, that this was a moment that was given to me. It was the first time I shared my story at work, and I didn't care. I didn't care who heard me. I wanted that girl to know that she could do this. I needed her to know. It was my turning point. By sharing my absolute knowledge that God loved her, that was me. I was telling myself that he loved me.
All right. What stood out to you from that video?
I
Yes.
think what stood out to me the most was when she said her sister confronted her and she said they came to her with pure love and then said, where do we go from here? Not how horrible of a mother you are, not criticizing, not anything. Show pure love and then how are we going to fix this together? And that's how to approach difficult situations.
Isn't that a beautiful example of humility? Not only on her part, being willing to listen, but definitely on that mother's. Because wouldn't it be hard as a mother? Now, I only have, my oldest is 3 years old, but I can only imagine, wouldn't you blame yourself? Like, what have I done wrong? Did I not teach them? Like, what? It would be really easy to get caught up in that cycle instead of reaching out and honestly trying to help her. That was a very beautiful part. Thank you. What else? Yes.
I thought the end where she went and shared her story, and she said she didn't care who heard or what they thought of her. I just thought how awesome that she was totally willing to bare her soul to help this other lady going through what she was going through. And to me, that's like total humble. Look at me, I made these huge mistakes, and I want you to know what I went through so that you can be helped by that.
Right. That takes a lot of humility. One of my favorite quotes is, I am not impressed with perfect people. I am impressed with people who know how to deal with their imperfections. And that's some of the most amazing people I know are people who have made big mistakes and who have turned their lives around and are using the power of the Lord to heal in their lives. Thanks, Annette. Anyone else? Yes,
I
again,
know that one of the reasons that we have trials in our life is to help other people and to share it. And when she said, God loves you because he loved me, and that's how she came to know that. And sometimes in the midst of your own trial, it's hard to feel that or to understand that. But on the other side of it, you can see that you have a great understanding of his love for you, and that it's part of your duty as a disciple of Christ to share that.
Right. When the Martin and Willie handcart companies came across the plains, I'm sure we're all familiar with that story and how horribly it ended up for them. But a couple months after they were rescued, there was a group of the saints who were criticizing church leadership, saying, what were they thinking? All of these people died. This was a terrible mistake. And a man stood up in the back of the room and said, do not criticize. We may have suffered, but we came to know our God in a way that we could not any other way. He said, and not one of those members apostatized. Through everything they went through everything they lost, they came to know God in a very personal and humble way. And it's hard. It's hard. Such a difficult path to walk. Okay, so let's pop over to another example. I thought you would enjoy this video. It's really hard to find examples of humility in academia. If you've ever tried, try an internet search that one. It's pretty exciting. But it's what I loved about this video. They ask a group of top-notch physicists. These are the leaders in their field. And they say, you know, what about physics confuses you? And listening to their responses, I would say that some of them vary in their humility levels, but I love hearing them say, I don't know. Or this thing, it still confuses me. I'd like you to watch and just apply humility specifically to an academic setting. Like how can we be humble in our actions as academics?
Is there a part of physics and astronomy that really confuses you?
Yeah, lots of parts of physics and astronomy really confuse me.
Quite a lot of it, actually. Certainly classic things like quantum physics. Very few people have any kind of intuitive understanding of it, and I certainly wouldn't count myself as one of them.
Well, many areas. I guess, and there are some areas where if it doesn't confuse you, that really just tells you that you haven't understood it. So things like quantum mechanics and relativity, where the universe really behaves in a completely counterintuitive way. If you really think, well, that's pretty obvious, then I would say that almost certainly means that you really haven't understood it. And it's only when you're really confused by it that you really get close to understanding it.
Yeah, how did the universe begin? I mean, what happened before the Big Bang? We can describe very detailed results of it and make predictions, but what initiated it? No idea, no way to figure it out.
Which makes where do you want me to start? I can cope with a lot of the subjects. String theory is way beyond me. The difficulty with string theory is that, I guess I'm an experimentalist already. I do dabble in theory now and again, but what I want to see is a connection with experiment. I want to see a connection with observation. And with string theory, sometimes it's very difficult for me to see what that connection is. I can appreciate to some extent the elegance of the mathematics, and I can appreciate why string theorists get so excited. They go, well, look at the beauty of this, look at it, has to be that. But just because it's beautiful and just because it's elegant mathematics doesn't necessarily make it right. So string theory.
And it's not frustrating that I can't figure out how to answer it. It's frustrating that I don't even know how we can get any information from there. How do we go about answering that question? No idea, and that's really frustrating.
I find the idea of quantum computation very difficult. The basic principles, I suppose, are not so hard if you're a professional scientist, but how you're going to set up the qubits and then manipulate them and then read out the information on any useful scale. And there's a lot of optimism about it. I guess maybe because I'm old, I'm very skeptical about the whole thing, about how you can actually make a useful machine out of it. But maybe I'll be proved wrong in 20 years.
I find general relativity. I spent one summer writing notes for myself on general relativity, so at least I had some understanding. But it is beyond me. They're usually to do with interfaces, where you think you have a little bit of knowledge on one and a little bit of knowledge on the other, and so you should be able to join the two together, and they don't quite work. So, for example, in the field that I work in, I sometimes overlap with a cosmologist who think about galaxy formation, and the onset of what's going from the linear to the non-linear regime, where you can do everything nicely on pen and paper, work everything out on the linear, and then you know it's not going to, it can't keep doing that. Gravity takes over and it becomes non-linear, and that interface I find quite difficult to, because I should be able to do it, but I can't quite get it sorted out.
Thermodynamics I always struggled with a bit at university. That was not one of my best courses.
There are lots of things which are really quite technical, which I can cope with, but when it gets to general relativity, it goes off into another area.
All right, what stood out to you from that video? Aside from all the physics jargon, yeah.
Just as they said, the more you know, the less you realize you know.
The more you know, the less you realize you know. That is so profound. Nassim Taleb is an economist. He proposes the idea of the anti-library, right? The books you don't know you haven't read, right? Because we all know, oh, what are your favorite books? Oh, well, I've read this and this and this and this and this. But what books do you not know about? Like, what books do you not know you haven't read? Does that make sense? When I was 12, I was so cute. I thought I had read everything there was to know about the gospel. I've read the Book of Mormon. I've read it like twice. I've read the Book of Mormon. I've even read parts of the Bible. You don't really need to read all those parts of the Old Testament. I've read most of it. I think I've got my knowledge base down. Yeah. Do we do that occasionally with our students? Now, there's a constant struggle between being overqualified and being underqualified, right? If we feel like frauds or charlatans because we don't know enough, or I don't feel qualified to teach my class, I don't know if I can do it, then that is also a form of pride. You can go over and under, right? What else from the video? Yeah.
So for me, humility is just the acceptance of reality.
Maybe the humility is just the acceptance of reality.
Because the idea that we really don't know everything and we probably never will, that's reality. And so, and then maybe arrogance is kind of living in a dream or kind of this false world where we create this idea.
That's fascinating that you should say that, Jim, and I'm so grateful because it leads us right into, oh, look, ta-da! What it means to have pride. Pride comes from the Latin prodes, to be of value. So when we have pride, we try to create our own value outside of the merit of Jesus Christ. We try to create our own realities, right? We build our castles in the sky and we may or may not move in. That's the problem with pride. A lot of the places I catch myself with pride is the reality caveat. Have you ever heard someone say, oh, well, it's true. Well, it's true that we should do this. So that's the end, because it's true. But Neil A. Maxwell said it is not enough to speak the truth, but to speak the truth with love. Right? If I ever find myself hiding behind reality or the facts, right? Not necessarily acknowledging reality, like Jim said, right? We do need to acknowledge reality, but if I'm ever hiding behind it, then that's the problem. I find that my difficulty is not recognizing the truth, but my relationship with it. It's how I view the truth, how I react to it, right? And that's the justification. Well, I would do my scripture study, but I have 2 toddlers, and I just don't get enough sleep. And it's just outside my realm of possibilities. I'm doing the best that I can. They really expect me to be cub masters and read my scriptures. Okay, whatever it is. That was 3 weeks ago, actually. I was very meditating. So that's the reality caveat, justification, taking sides, right? I live with my in-laws. Yes, they are wonderful people. Like really, they are wonderful people. They are so kind, so good. But I am not like them, and they are definitely not like me. Or maybe we're just too alike. That's quite a possibility, right? But if I find myself saying, she did this, I did this, you know, we're just moving out. We're moving out right now. I'm starting to pack boxes. My poor husband comes home and says, what's wrong? I thought you went to the zoo, right? That's whenever I take sides or create sides, that's enmity, right? That's one of the signs of pride for me. Where do you find signs of pride in yourself? Yeah.
I think actually the us and them mentality that you just talked about.
The us and them?
Particularly with our students.
With your students?
As if they and we are very different. Instead of we are the same. We're all learners. We're all children of God. We all make mistakes. We all turn things in late. I'm not saying excuse, and just wipe everything away.
Right.
But I am saying that we're all on the same team. It's not us and them.
Yeah, we are all on the same team. I think we forget that sometimes. Yeah, sure.
I think this university is unique in that, is that there's not us and them, and in other educational places, that's true. After I graduated here, my husband did grad school in Arizona, and I worked at ASU as an accountant. And I was in the College of Nursing, and there was this professor, tenured, blah, blah, blah lady who thought she was the queen of the universe. And I was the lowly accountant. And she said, I didn't speak with her, I was pregnant, I had a high-risk pregnancy, you know, excuses, but she came to me and said, you are a staff person. You speak to me like I am your superior, never like your equal.
Oh my.
And coming from BYU, I graduated from BYU-Idaho, I grew up in Idaho Falls, that was a very shocking
You
thing.
mean you're not my helping and loving mentor?
Right.
I
That was
know.
a very shocking reality to me of the difference of how people view leadership and hierarchy that does not exist in this university but does other places. And how people can stand up on her pride box of, I am this tenured da-da-da, and I get to speak to you in whatever manner I choose because of what I have accomplished. And if we ever think that we get to choose to treat anyone else less than us because of what we've accomplished, then that's when we've hit that pride.
Right, right. Nice. Thanks, Sharon. Chris.
One for me is I deserve this.
Oh.
Because
I deserve this. That's a good one.
I know if my mind thoughts going that I deserve this for whatever I've done. You go down that little path. That's just not the wrong path to go. It's like whatever I've done. You know.
I worked hard for this graduate degree, and until you have paid your dues and gone through the program and joined the Burkean Parlor conversation, you cannot post a discussion board post that looks like that. Right? That's where I find the deserving. But yeah, when you deserve something, good. Good. What else? Any thoughts from over here? Jack? I didn't catch your name. What was your name?
My name's Kyle.
Kyle. Nice to meet you, Kyle. Okay. Yeah. Jim?
I lost my train of thought. When we kind of set ourselves up as the judge, the jury, and kind of the king, where we could really decide what's right and what's wrong. You know, I sat in on excuse and reason, how we deal with excuses, and felt really uncomfortable in the class because it seemed like we were setting ourselves up as we were kind of like little mini gods, and we were deciding who's worthy and who wasn't worthy, and so I think that's kind of summary.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, setting ourselves up as judges. I would propose that humility is acknowledging God and his greatness, and pride is making ourselves the God and relying on our own greatness. Because do we have any greatness? So it's a very painful thing to be prideful for us. Yes, Kyle.
Sometimes I find myself the recipient of many tender mercies. So I see many times where Heavenly Father is winking at me saying, I know you, I love you. And sometimes that goes to my head. And I think, well, I must be one of his favorites then. And so
He's really nice to me. He was nice to me a lot.
And so I get a little bit caught in this idea that, well, he smiles more on me than he does on others. And that's something that I often have to remind myself that is not necessarily the case. I think I just need that much extra help.
That's awesome. That's great. Thanks, Kyle. When I was a teenager, I went to my mom and said, Mom, I know that I'm your favorite, but it's okay if you spend time with my brother. Like, it's okay if you spend time with him too. And my brother, the next week, went to my mom and said, Mom, I know I'm your favorite, but you can spend time with Aubrey. And my mom said, I'm such a good mother. It was a great payoff moment, but I think we do that sometimes with other people. We say, you know, I have been so blessed. I have all of these things. Everything is going well for me right now. The Lord must love me. It hurts me so much on Facebook or other social media when a tragedy happens and someone posts and says, oh, there is a God, I survived. Say, really? Is there no God for those who died? You know, and I don't think, I'm grateful for their gratitude. I'm sure that what they're trying to express is a feeling of, wow, I'm so grateful that I'm alive. But just because you are alive does not mean that God loves you. And just because you are dead does not mean that God hates you, right? It's very difficult to work through that process. If we can, I gave you 2 pieces of paper. There's a humility test and a pride test. Let me check and see where we're at. Oh, we're doing great on time. Perfect. Wait, Oh, we're not doing great on time. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to let you take the pride test and humility test home with you. But I'm going to read the pride test answers if you just want to look over them with me. I want you to do this at a time when you don't feel watched or pressured. But this was kind of a self-evaluation that I put together from President Ezra Taft Benson's talk on pride and also Elder Clark's devotional that he gave when he was here at BYU-Idaho. But number one, I feel pressured or on the defense when a student asks for further explanation or complains about feedback I've given on an assignment. I feel irritated when I find errors in student submissions or when a student submits an assignment late and asks for an extension, right? So the problem here is not that the student, it's not the reality, right? It's the irritation. Does that make sense? It's not that a student is asking for an extension. It's not, you know, they very well could have stayed up all night watching 24 with their roommates and not have been super responsible. Let's be honest. You know, that's very possibly an explanation. But just because they're like that, why am I irritated? Does that make sense? Why do I start creating excuses and enmity in my mind for that? Okay, I assume my students won't be prepared for class. They probably didn't read the material, take the quiz, finish the discussion board post anyway. I have a hard time receiving feedback from my students, peers, or supervisors about course content or my performance as an instructor. I feel micromanaged during course visits or evaluations. I often feel like a failure as an instructor. In discussions with my students or peers, I'm impelled to reference sources or quote relevant literature to back up my point of view. I correct or edit student comments in my head, like grammar diction, when one of my students posts a comment. After I submit a course fix for improvement or improvement suggestion, I feel disgruntled or resentful when my idea isn't implemented. I've congratulated myself for answering any of the questions on this test well, checking off the right answers as I go. Yeah, that's the one that was like, oh, dang it, caught myself. I've internally argued my answers for any of the previous questions on this test, providing evidence for my point of view. Oh, aha. Yeah, this is the gotcha test to be like, oh, dang it, that's where it is. The humility test, I hope, I took it mostly from Preach My Gospel and just applied it to an academic setting. I hope that and for those of you online, you are able to access those materials on the iLearn course so you can get the pride test and the humility test from there. But I hope that it helps you heal a little bit and come to peace more with where you're at. I'm going to pop really quick. When I say really quick, this is where my pride shows itself, right? We did this with humility, kind of come through. I rant, I despair, I assume, I have the answers. I argue, I justify, right? Right, so how can I model humility in my interaction with students and colleagues? Okay. And I've passed out some quotes to you, but I want you to ponder. I'm so sorry that we don't have time to talk about it. I got all excited and I read the wrong time, so I thought that I had until 12:30, which is actually 3 classes and not just 9. So I assume that you want to go see other people, but I got super excited and was hoping we'd have more time. So I want you to take a look at that quote and ponder and talk about it. Maybe find each other after the class, right? Remember everybody? Yeah, that might be a little too much work, don't worry about it. But I just want to end briefly by saying the ways we can overcome pride, at least that I found in my teaching experience, is that we can submit willingly, right? Instead of waiting to be humbled or waiting to be bulldozed, that's kind of the same thing in my mind sometimes, because humility can catch me unawares. If I submit willingly, if I note that I am accountable for my own behavior, this quote from Viktor Frankl is one of my favorites, right? In our response lies our growth and our freedom. How we respond. Our students might not make the best decisions. Like kids, adults, whatever, they might not, but we can. Right? Our behavior is not dictated by theirs, right? And if you haven't seen this devotional, it was a BYU devotional back in the day, The Will of the Father in All Things. Incredible, one of my favorites. But Elder Holland goes more in depth into what it means to submit willingly. And also seek and receive feedback. These are 2 questions that Elder Clark mentioned in his presentation. What am I doing that I should stop doing? And what am I not doing that I should start doing? Right? And an honest, I firmly believe that we can receive the revelation that we need for our own classes. That if we ask these questions honestly and with the help of the Lord, He will. We might not want to see what He wants to show us, but we will be able to get that information.
And if you ask those questions, you have to be ready to do them.
Yeah, be ready, hearken, right? Be ready to do the answers. Yeah. And that's, if you feel blinded and maybe just a little bit lost or drowning like I was, you can request a coach. It's actually on the online community under resources, and they are awesome. Lynn Dershey and his team are incredible, and they go through your course and say, well, let's talk about it. What are you doing? What are you not? Where can you improve? They are so humble and so good. And I'm actually really excited. I met with him for an hour and we went through my course, and I came out of it going, ooh, 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 I'm so excited. I want to do it right now. And then one of my babies started crying, so I put it off. But I will get there, and I'm super excited to go in and do it. So I would just like to testify to you that humility is worth it. It's painful, but it is key. Without it, the only attributes the Savior ever applied to himself were meek and lowly. Every other attribute. He didn't say, I am the most loving. I am. He said, I am meek. We must have that. And I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm sorry that I went a little bit over. I got so excited.
Do you know that we're brothers?